Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you again for your service. I'm going to send you a series of questions to kind of explore further what Senator Lee was talking about, so we won't have to use the whole 7 minutes here talking about the details of Miranda and what an enemy combatant is or is not. But we're going to talk with big themes. Cybersecurity. Do you have all the resources you need right now to defend the nation against a cyber attack within reason?
We need additional resources. We're reprioritizing. We are reorganizing to address cyber. We have a...
What's the risk to the nation of a cyber attack in the next decade?
Substantial.
So would you do me a favor and just quietly and appropriately write down that list of needs and get them to me, and I'll spread them to my colleagues. And
have done it, we'll do it.
And just really appreciate the FBI in many ways. Okay. Do you believe that we're in a war against terrorism? Is the war on terror an appropriate name to define the time in which we live in?
Yes.
Okay. I do too. It's not the crime on terror, it's the war on terror. I believe that Article 3 courts have a place in prosecuting terrorists. Do you agree with that?
Yes.
Do you believe that military commissions could also have a place in prosecuting terrorists?
Yes.
U.S. citizens are not eligible for military commissions. You agree with that?
Yes.
Just say yes, because that's
yes.
the law. Okay.
Yes.
I'm not trying to trick you.
I'm waiting for time.
I know. Is the homegrown terrorist threat growing or lessening?
Growing.
Do you consider America part of the terrorist battlefield, the country itself? Isn't that sort of what they want to do, is hit us here as much as anywhere else?
You know, one can get into the parsing the terms of the description. I would say that we have a terrorist threat domestically, we have a terrorist threat internationally.
Right. Well, let's talk about the fact that I think they want to kill us everywhere, but particularly here. And I don't think it was an accident that they brought down the Twin Towers, attacked the Pentagon, tried to attack the Capitol. They're coming after us. Do you agree with that?
Yes.
All over the world.
Yes.
And we have a right to defend ourselves.
Yes.
Within our values. You don't support waterboarding, right?
No.
Nor do I.
It does not. It does not comport with our guidelines.
I agree, and I appreciate you at a time when it wasn't popular saying so, quite frankly. Do you believe Khalid Sheikh Mohammed is an enemy combatant?
I am not going to. I'll go down the road just so far, but in terms of the designation, I think there are a number of factors that go into that. So I'm not going to say a yay or a nay.
Well, do you believe that al-Qaeda members can be classified as enemy combatants, since we have about 200 and something of them in Guantanamo Bay?
I believe so, but again, this is dependent on...
I mean, we're not holding people illegally there, are we?
No.
Okay. Now, if you caught Osama bin Laden or KSM, somebody like that, tomorrow in the United States, would you suggest that the country take off the table military commission trials simply because the foreign terrorist was captured in the United States?
Yeah, I would stay away from suggesting that would be a decision for the President. My responsibility, our responsibility, would be to gather whatever facts, intelligence,
right.
and/or
well, I'm glad to hear you say that,
them.
because I don't believe it's the policy of the Obama administration that foreign terrorists captured in the United States cannot be tried by military commissions and cannot be held as an enemy combatant. And to Senator Lee's line of inquiry, I don't believe we want to send a signal to the world that if you make it to America, all of a sudden you get a better deal than if we catch you in Pakistan. But let's talk about your job. When we capture someone affiliated, that we believe to be affiliated with al-Qaeda in the United States, is it the Obama's position, administration's position, the FBI's position, that those individuals captured collaborating with al-Qaeda in the United States must be Mirandized?
There is no blanket rule on Mirandizing individuals.
Okay.
of al-Qaeda in the United States.
This is very important. I think that's a good answer. Sometimes maybe it's the best thing to do. Sometimes maybe it's not.
Well, I think what the policy that has been laid out is that intelligence comes first.
Okay.
In the Quarles exception to the Miranda rule,
Okay,
we have leeway to undertake.
How long under Quarles, which had to do with a domestic crime, not a terrorism case, how long can you hold someone under the Quarles case before you have to read them their Miranda rights?
I think that's still an open question.
Is it 2 days? Is it 2 weeks?
It's an open question dependent on the circumstances.
Well, I would suggest that the people we've held at Guantanamo Bay for years as enemy combatants could only be held that long because we've designated them as enemy combatants. I don't want to bastardize the criminal justice system. Once we use it, I want it to work the way it should. And I believe that if you capture someone in the United States and you're going to charge them with a crime in Article III court, that's your intent, that your ability to hold them without Mirandizing them under Quarles is limited. But how long can you hold someone that you want to put in the criminal justice system without presenting them to a federal court under the presentment requirements?
Well, you're required to present them generally within the next 24, 48 hours.
Okay, so you got to present them to court.
I presume you're talking about non-U.S. citizens.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, so as I understand, then they get a lawyer at presentment, don't they? They have to have somebody helping them.
It depends on the circumstance. Some have not.
Okay, but my point is that you're taking a suspect who we believe is involved in terrorism. When you put them in the criminal justice system, you have Miranda issues and presentment issues. If you keep them in the law of war system, holding them as an enemy combatant, for intelligence gathering purposes, you don't have these problems. Is that correct?
Well, I'm not certain to what extent you can make that blanket statement.
Okay. Well,
and also I think there are downsides from doing it that are often overlooked.
Do you know any requirement in the law of war to read an enemy prisoner their Miranda rights or provide them a lawyer when they're held in military custody?
I'm not familiar.
Or intelligence.
I am not familiar with the military code as you are.
I would just suggest, and I don't want to belabor this, but we've never in a war captured an enemy prisoner and said, hey, you got a right to a lawyer, here's your lawyer. We hold you to gather intelligence because we're trying to prevent the next attack, not prosecute you. So I'm going to send you a series of questions, and I want us to understand as a nation that we're at war. I want to treat people fairly. I believe in all of the above, but I am not going to sit on the sidelines and go back to a pre-9/11 model of where the criminal justice system is the only tool available to fight this war. So, Mr. Director, you've got really dedicated agents who are putting themselves at risk. And when we capture one of these people who we believe is involved with al-Qaeda and a way to hurt us all, I think we should have as many options as possible within our values and within the law of war and the criminal justice system to defend ourselves. So I'm going to send you some questions, and I am glad to hear that there is no blanket requirement by the FBI to Mirandize a terrorist suspect upon capture in the United States. So that's good to know. Thank you.
Senator.